I love metal cardbots so much. Today, I'm taking a look at metal cardbot Tachy. I'm going with Tachy, but I'm not sure if it's actually Tacky or Taki. I don't like either pronunciation that much because Taki makes me think of your name, which doesn't really fit. And tacky just sounds like, tacky. But I'm pretty sure it's tacky because the way it's spelled makes me think it's some kind of short version of tachyon or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. All I know is I'm going to call her Tacky for the rest of the video. But we're looking at Tacky. Yes, Tacky is that metal cardbot figure, which is, for better, I think, getting more people to pay attention to metal cardbot at least. Maybe not for the best reasons, but hey, whatever gets people to pay attention to it because it's an amazing line. And yeah, Tachy is actually, quite honestly, an incredible figure. Honestly, she would probably be my #1 Korean transforming robot toy that I have right now, if it weren't for the fact that Night Griffin exists. And the only reason Night Griffin wins out is because, like I said in that video, he is laser targeted to things that appeal to me specifically as a person. Yes, Tachy is excellent, and I feel like the sentiment that a lot of people have with this figure, just from seeing photos and videos and whatnot, is like, maybe I need to get that figure. And I'm going to tell you, if you're at all interested, you should. You absolutely should. She is amazing. Great articulation, interesting transformation, and a surprisingly cool card gimmick that, for once in years, doesn't take up too much physical space. Granted, half of what you use for her card gimmick, or card mode, whatever these things are called, it's on her backpack, but that's also part of the vehicle mode, so it doesn't technically count. So yeah, this is the card, and the card is a much more manageable size when not in use, but it's also really cool, so I want to have it in use because it's really cool, but we will look at this in a little bit. But for now, let's talk about Tachy. Whatever. Again, she's amazing. She's like this robot cheetah woman. I don't really know the whole deal. I've seen like 1 or 2 clips that show that she is kind of like a bubbly version of the Roadrunner that can talk, zipping all over the place and prone to taking off like a shot. And she's just really cool. There's so much about this figure that's really awesome. Yes, the proportions are a thing that has been getting a lot of people's attention, and, as a fellow enjoyer of that one gif of the melon crushing, I get it, but at the same time, like, this is just a really cool figure. Like I said, the the proportions are actually really cool, and granted, like, half of what's going on here is just these flaps, so that, that's just kibble that kind of balances it out a little bit, but like, this is so cool. And she's got a bit of the RC thing going, where a decent chunk of her alt mode is on her back, but the back half of her alt mode is basically just down here, which is pretty cool. And again, she just looks really cool. She's got the cheetah thing going with the kind of slightly orangey yellow with the black, which is a nice mixture, but then you've got these slightly darker orange accents, which work really well with the yellow. And of course, black goes with everything, and then you got some white in there, which also goes with everything. So really cool. And then they pulled out the color theory and added some of this light blue because it complements orange and yellow really well in the feet, in the knees, and also it's worth pointing out they painted that detail on both sides of the knee. You've got the gem in the waist section, and then some stuff going on in the head, which we'll look at later. But yeah, this is just a super cool figure, and so much personality just from the figure in general. But the articulation's really good. She's got a tail, and the tail is actually that's just part of the figure. This is not a parts forming tail. This does not detach at all. You probably could take it off. There's a ball joint. You can unplug the tail if you want to, But like, there's absolutely no reason to do that because it's just part of the figure. It doesn't come off. It doesn't parts form. It's not something you have to do for, you don't have to remove it for transformation. It actually is part of the transformation. So that's cool. And it even has some motion in it, which we'll get to in a minute. But like, I don't know. This is just, I freaking love this. Unfortunately, I did get a little bit of yellow paint streak on the fingers on the left hand, but that's fine. It's not that big a deal. It doesn't really bother me, but I did notice it. Anyway, the head sculpt is great. It's kind of on the small side, but like that's kind of the point. It almost looks like she's got like a bike helmet or a motorcycle helmet, the way this kind of goes back at a point. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be hair, but maybe it is. But like, it's a pretty neat sculpt. I like the orange lightning bolt details on the sides. You've got the light blue in the visor eyes and like the kind of cheetah-esque stripes down the eyes, the nose, and then like those. I like that the stripes actually continue down the faceplate, which makes her actual like robot mode face have a bit of a cheetah vibe too, which is the idea. And also because of her card mode, or whatever you want to call it, the visor actually comes down. It's part of that mode. I don't like this. I think it's cool that the helmet can do this. It is really cool that the helmet can do this, but I'm just not a fan of how squished this makes the head look when the visor is down. So I prefer to leave it up. But I do think it's extremely cool that that feature is there. And hey, if you like it, you can leave it like that if you want. It's a really cool feature to have on the helmet. I do like that. And now we can talk about Tachy's articulation, which is one of my favorite things about this figure outside of everything else. So, the head is on a ball joint with the ball going down into the torso, but you get a pretty decent amount of side to side. You can look down quite a ways. You can't really look up that much, but there are kind of workarounds for that. And then also, of course, the head can rotate. Now, in terms of looking up, what you can do to kind of fudge it is if you get the backpack out of the way, there are a couple of joints here you can use. I like to use the one up here. If you get the backpack out of the way, you can actually use the transformation joint to lift the torso back. And it actually goes back a second click, but it doesn't, like, then it starts to really disconnect stuff up here. So I feel like if you're going to use it, just use the one click, but like you can get her to kind of look up that way, which is a little Michael Keaton Batman-esque, but I still like that it can do that because the head is actually attached to this whole assembly rather than the center mass here. So when you lift that up, it just takes the whole thing with it. Now you get the arm rotation that could theoretically go all the way around, but like this backpack does get in the way a little bit. But it's ratcheted. Arms can go out to 90. You get bicep rotation. Elbows bend slightly past 90. And then the wrists are on a ball joint, so you actually get a really decent amount of helicopter rotation, I guess, in addition to just being able to spin. So that's really cool. You do also get waist rotation. And it is detented, it goes all the way around. The detents are a bit extreme, but they're like soft detents, so you can just do like minor adjustments before it snaps into place. So you don't have to worry too much about how drastic the detents are. As mentioned, the tail is on a ball joint, so you can rotate it around and depending on the angles, move it up and down a bit. And then the tip of the tail can flip in. It can't straighten out any more than this, but it can go in a bit, which I love that. I love that she has a tail. The hips can go forward to just about 90, back to 90. I guess it's still just about 90 if you have the leg out slightly. They can go out that far, not a full T, but still pretty decent. You get thigh rotation, also ratcheted. It doesn't go all the way around because of all the... I guess you can go all the way around, but you gotta really work at weird angles for it. But like, I feel like this is plenty of thigh rotation, so you don't really need to worry about that. For the knee, you get a lot of detents to get a 90-degree bend, but because of how she transforms, there's an additional joint in there, so you can bend that as well, so you can get the absolute full knee bend all the way. Love that. And then the feet, it's actually kind of amazing. You've got a swivel joint for the transformation. You've got ankle tilt that goes quite a ways in. It doesn't go out, unfortunately. I do wish it went out a little bit. That'd be really good for running poses, and considering she runs. That's her thing in the show from what I've seen. It would have made sense to give her outward ankle tilt, but hey, whatever. But then you also get forward and backward ratcheted motion on the ankles as well. So her articulation is super duper good, and she just looks really cool. And her transformation is actually really interesting and fun to do too, but we'll get to that in a bit, because first we need to take a look at how she compares to other figures. And it's maybe not the best comparison, but here she is with it's basically like a roughly standard deluxe. Oviprime here stands kind of between the tall deluxe and short deluxe range, so roughly standard deluxe size. And with our usual Korean robot comparison, Tobot v Wild Chief, she is small for a Korean robot. I will give it that. For another metal Cardbot comparison, here she is with Black Hook, and Black Hook is also kind of on the smaller side, so she's smaller than that. For a slightly more recent Hello Carbot, here she is with Sky Gallop, and again, noticeably smaller than Sky Gallop. And here she is with Night Griffin, and yeah, I still prefer Night Griffin, but Tachy is just really good. It's tough. Even looking at Night Griffin, and as amazing as he is, Tachy is still, like, so good. Alright, now it is time for the card. So the card has a image of Tachy on it, hopefully a drawn image and not something somebody just prompted. I don't think it's prompted. I'd be very disappointed if it was. But yeah, there's just the image, no name, which I don't mind it. It's just interesting that they decided to stop. And as with all of these card things, the first thing you do is pop it off. And around the back, there is the whatever wave this is, the symbol that they're using in like a silvery chrome. That looks cool for what it is. And now this goes off to the side and we don't see it again. Now for the rest of this, these bits pop apart, they split in half. And you've got two of these. And these both transform the same, but they're mirrored. So what you want to do is pull apart here, but it kind of goes at an angle. So kind of pull like that, and you can see there's this tab is what goes in there. So pull, and then this will click, flip this out, flip this down, rotate this down, and then open this. And then this will go off to the side. And then this, again, same deal, but mirrored. So you pop it apart and slide it out until it clicks. Flip this out, flip this down, flip that down, and then flip that out. And now what these are, well, they're boots. So all you have to do to attach these is you slide the right over the right, left over the left. The bar goes on the outside. That's kind of how you can tell, but also obviously the angle that the tilt goes in. This just will like nestle into the shape here and it will fit in on its own. You don't have to worry about anything clicking in, just get it lined up and then close the door. And that closes that in there really solidly. And then what you want to do is you want to angle the foot down, and there's this little tab here and a little slot at the tip of the toe. So when this comes down, it should be like 2 clicks. This will angle in and click into place. And that gives you one boot. And the other boot, same deal, just slide that in, close that up, and then bring the foot down and plug that in. And now she's got stilts that are actually pretty cool looking. And this does make the leg proportions look a little bit more uniform going all the way down. But this is not it for her card mode. What you want to do next is take these panels on the sides of the backpack, and they pop out. That makes the backpack a little smaller. And there's a paws on the inside. You want to rotate those, and as you rotate them, the claws actually come out. So you can see how that's retracted, that's extended. You do that on both sides. And then with the detailing facing up, these will go over the forearms. And that's just this bit here, where there's like an obvious recess, is where the orange cuff goes. And then there's this little tab here that will plug into this little slot right by this screw. So that just goes in and tabs in. And same deal on this side. And then lastly, just because this is how they want you to do it, you flip the thing down for the visor, and there is Tachy's, whatever mode this is called, I don't know, but it looks really cool. I, again, feel like this makes the head and face look too squished down, so I just leave the visor up. But I do think this is super cool. It's hard to explain, but like I really like when sci-fi stuff does weird like exosuit proportions like this, where you've got like the kind of normal-ish humanoid proportions in the center, but then like really big arms and really big legs. I just think that's cool. It again gives it this like exosuit or exoskeleton kind of look, and that's just really, really neat. You lose a little bit of articulation in this. Like, well, first of all, you can bring the arms all the way around without having to worry about the backpack now because the flaps are gone. But you can't quite bend the elbow as much. It goes basically to 90 rather than slightly past 90, which isn't, it's not a big deal, but it's, you know, you do lose a little bit of that elbow bend. You still get all the same motion in the waist and the head and the hips and the thighs and all that, but you do lose some knee articulation. You can use the secondary knee joint to just about bend to 90. Not quite 90, but close. Or you can use that primary knee joint to not quite bend to 90. If you use the two together, you're still only going to get like slightly under 90, like maybe almost 90. And that's just because the wheel and the stuff here, it all gets in the way. If you fold this out of the way, you can bend the knee further, but then this is sticking out, and that's not a good look. So yeah, you lose a little bit of knee articulation, but I think 90 is still decent for everything else that's going on here. So that doesn't really bother me. You do, however, lose the all that amazing foot rotation or foot articulation. However, that's only if you plug the toe in. If you unplug the toe, you can also like rotate this up to get out of the way. You actually get more options with this foot, which is interesting because it's got motion there that like you don't use this motion for the transformation. So this has to be intentional. So you can use the forward and backward motion here. You can even use the transformation for like a toe. You can also, of course, like adjust the foot to kind of semi-incorporate all of this. And then you can also use that ankle tilt that's in there. Again, you got the foot still, that you got to account for that. But I like that. I like that you have the option, at least, for a little bit more articulation if you're willing to go off script with the transformation. I think that's cool. What I also think is cool is how, when all of this is done together, the boots kind of like the feet are still there, and if you know what to look for, they're kind of obvious, but like I feel like someone looking at this without knowing how the figure works, this doesn't really read like boots, like exoskeleton boots over over a regular foot that looks like a tennis shoe. It just, I don't know, the way that this detail incorporates in here, it like keeps this from looking too boring, and also just kind of makes this look like a cohesive leg all the way down. That's super cool. Now, when Tachy is wearing her boots, she is taller, so we're going to do size comparisons again. Because if you remember, she was significantly shorter than Tobot v Wild Chief, and now they're almost the same height. She's still a little bit shorter, but not by much. But then you put her next to Black Hook, and they're basically the same height. She might actually be slightly taller now. So yeah, those boots add a fair bit. Still not quite as tall as Sky Gallop, though. But she is practically shoulder to shoulder with Night Griffin when Night Griffin is in his cooler but admittedly slightly shorter Griffin mode. Alright, now that Tachy has been decarded, it is time to get to the vehicle mode, and this transformation is pretty darn cool. So, to start, just gonna pop these bits off the side. You do, unfortunately, have to do a little bit of parts forming for the vehicle transformation, but that's, considering these become like additional accessories and like giant claw gauntlets, I'm not really bothered by that. But these will go off to the side for now. Now, going to just kind of raise the arms up a bit. Want to rotate the fists so that it looks like she's either going yeah or pumping iron or whatever. Straighten out the legs. Then you want to take the tail and rotate it down, and this will tuck between her legs like she got caught getting into something she shouldn't have. Thinking of Astrid as I say that. And then when you bring the legs in, there's a little peg here that will peg into this little hole on the side of the tail. In addition to that, there is another peg up here. This is on both thighs that will peg into another hole. So there's two holes that need to be pegged into. In addition to that, the legs clip together right there. And I find it's easiest to do this side first. So just get that in there and then bring the other leg in, and everything should, with the one leg lined up, everything should clip together and peg together, and I don't know why it's not. There we go. So all that comes together. Now, I want to bend the knees in at that upper joint, and that will give you the space you need to bring this flap out and then pull out this secondary flap. And when you bring this flap in, it does actually peg in. You'll kind of hear or feel it snap. It doesn't hold in as solidly on this side as it does on this side, but it's fine. It still holds. So peg that in, and then flip these in to fill in the back. Take the spoiler section here, and each one clicks to move on a slider, and then it'll click into place in the next position. So click to loosen it up, and then click it into place again, and that gives her vehicle mode spoiler. And we're just gonna leave it like this, like she's limboing weirdly for now. Next, you want to untab this bit of the backpack, bring that up, and then you can hinge the windshield section out. This piece will double hinge back, and it does kind of click or clip into place, and that will just kind of sit like that. Now this comes around. So basically this is going to come around and cover up her head, but you also want to raise this section up 2 clicks and then bring the head forward, and the muzzle of the cheetah portion of the mask will kind of sit into this crevice here. What I tend to do is just curl the arms in more and kind of flare them out just so that this can get up and around. But you want to keep the arms like this. Bring this whole assembly up and around, and it'll go up and around the head. And then once this gets all the way around the head, this piece here will clip over the waist section, and that does actually click in place. And now for the arms, what you can do is you want to line them up, and this all depends on what position the arms are in when you started the transformation, but basically you want to bring them in so that they sit like this. And what happens is the little flare on the elbow will go over this black piece, and the forearm will kind of rest in this molded bit here, and you want to kind of bring the fists down as well. And you definitely want to do this first because it is so much harder to get these fists into position if you put everything else together first. Now, for finishing this up, take the feet, bring them all the way back, and then rotate them so that the bottoms of the feet are facing out. And then use that secondary knee to bring the leg up, and this little rectangular chunk in the back heel will sit in this little notch on the side by the back wheel. And you might need to bring this out a click to get in there, but there you go. And that will line up like that. And now for the last bit, you want to take these flaps and open them up. When you are going into robot mode, these do actually peg in. It's like a little hole right here that goes into this little peg right here. So when you bring this around, it will actually kind of snap in place. But anyway, straighten that out. And now I find the easiest way to do this is to line it up so that the paws go inside this spot first. And then everything else just kind of falls into place. So this will peg into the side and tab in right here, but it also tabs into that same bit on the toe because there's a little bit right here that tabs into that toe tip. So that's how you know you've got that locked in. But yeah, you bring this in and there's like tabs here that go in here and slots here that go in here, and there's like so many different things that line up. This bit here is what goes over this bit right here. But again, I find it easiest to get the paws in place first, and then everything else just kind of lines up naturally. So peg all that in, and then make sure you peg the toe in. And that is it. There is actually spots for like the thumbs and stuff. So when the fists are already in place, you don't have to worry about any of that. And there is Tachy's alt mode. She is a little sports car, a little cheetah-style sports car. Even has some spots in a few places, which I think is cool. And this is a cool car mode. I think this is a neat design for the car. I like how the way they designed the hood/roof of the car really evokes her helmet, because you've got the eyes right here, but then you've got this bit up here that really looks like the cheetah visor that she had, and I just think that's fun. But yeah, it looks really good. I like the metallic, this is clear blue plastic with I think silver paint underneath, but I like the headlights. There's some nice grille detailing. Around back, it's even done pretty well. You've got the tail that just kind of folds in and kind of incorporates into the trunk if you don't know what you're looking for. There's the spoiler, which is split into two sections, but doesn't really bother me. These flaps fill in the back there nicely. You've got the translucent orange for the taillights, but it looks like it's metallic paint underneath there as well. This is cool. This is really, really cool. And the head is actually kind of free, so if you have the visor down... Okay, if you have the visor down, it does stick out, and that does actually keep the front wheels from reaching the ground. So you gotta pop the visor up if you want to have the space for the car to actually touch the ground and roll. So that is something to note. But yeah, this is really cool. That transformation is fun to do. I like how the bottoms of her shoes become side detailing for the car. That's wild. And I also like how the entire back third of the vehicle is just her legs folded up. That's really neat. And I don't know, it's cool. I even like how they managed to have her forearms in part of the hood design. It looks a little silly, but it's still cool. And you even have this neat kind of piping design from these panels that go up and meet with this other bit that was part of the backpack. And it almost makes it look like pipes going through I don't know, I'm not a car guy, but it's some kind of car element here before going into the engine, or possibly it's coming out of the engine and passing through all this stuff. I just think this is a cool car. I don't know. She looks neat, is what I'm getting at. In terms of size, she is somewhat diminutive still, because she's just a small robot. But, you know, I think scale-wise, this doesn't seem bad. I don't think this scales with Black Hook, but I don't know what scales with Black Hook, because he's a freaking sailboat. I don't... He's a galleon. I don't know. And I think that is going to do it for Metal Cardbot Tachy. As I said, I adore this figure. The transformation is a little weird and parts for me. I get it. I get the parts for me. I get that there are people who are going to be put off by that, but I am not one of them, especially because it's only 2 chunks and they're kind of neat in how they are incorporated into the card mode. But aside from that bit, I just really like the transformation. I like how she incorporates the alt mode and the robot mode in different spots. It's kind of RC, but kind of not. I do wish these actually like pegged in robot mode, but whatever. It's not really a big deal. But like, I don't know, I like how a surprising amount of the robot is actually being incorporated in all of this. And that, you know, the robot mode is full of articulation that I can't say I wasn't expecting, because as is usually the case with transforming robot toys that I'm interested in, I did watch a couple of videos beforehand to be like, I want that figure. But it's still, like, that's really nice articulation for a Korean figure. I mean, there are official Hasbro figures that don't have this level of articulation. Even, like, expensive class ones. So yeah, Tachy is really cool. As I said, fun to transform. She's got a lot of personality, a lot of articulation, just a really neat design. You can give her a little attitude if you want, which I appreciate. And I don't know, I like her a lot, and I really like the card mode too. And that's a real nice change of pace coming off of Heavy Iron W and that very disappointing card accessory. So yeah, Tachy is so good, and I apologize to anyone who's looking at this and like really wants to get Tachy for themselves, because importing Metal Cardbot figures to the US right now continues to be a major pain. But on the plus side, Tachy is actually one of the smallest Metal Cardbots to come out in recent memory, so since the figure is smaller, that means the box is smaller. A smaller box means shipping should be less ridiculous. So theoretically, she might be one of the more affordable Metal Cardbot options that you can find right now. I mean, she's, even more affordable is still not as affordable as she would have been before importing became so obnoxious, but silver lining. But yeah, I love Tachy so much. Would absolutely be my favorite if not for Night Griffin's very specific hitting of my interest, as I've said many times. But that is enough about what I think. What do you all think of Metal Cardbot Tachy? And please don't get weird. I get it, but please don't get weird. But whatever your thoughts, as long as you don't get weird with it, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and this is not going to come as a surprise to anyone, regardless of whether or not you check the channel posts, but next video is going to be another Korean robot toy.